Hey everybody, Tim and Jordan here trying to do some more education.
Get arranged.
Yeah, here I gotta do this a little bit. Hey Nate, how's it going, man? Sorry, just trying to get phones arranged so that people can see us. We wanted to do something because we get a lot of questions on it, but we wanted to do something about self-managing rental properties, like what sort of strategies, what you need to know, that kind of thing, right?
And why it's not that hard. I get a lot of people asking, well, do I need a property manager? Should I bring on property management? I want to buy a rental, and I hear that it's nice to plan to have a property manager later, so should I just do it now? And I really don't think you need a property manager on just a few rentals, especially if you're within driving distance of the rentals. And you really, as we'll talk about today, you don't need to be within driving distance of them either.
Right, you've got one.
Yeah,
he has one in Austin, Texas, so
Yeah.
I guess that's not exactly driving distance.
Well, you could drive there, but I don't want to.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. For me, I know this isn't popular because in a lot of the bigger pocket stuff, they always talk about how you have to account for a manager, and I don't think it's necessarily bad to account for a manager, but I know this. I know in the current market that if I didn't manage my own properties, there's very few purchases I'd be doing. But because I manage and I get paid to manage, basically, that makes a lot of deals work that wouldn't work another way. So I realize that's not exactly a popular thought, but I don't know.
Nathan said he has a life. He promises paternity leave has its benefits. So we're glad you're watching. I'm glad you're on paternity leave and taking advantage of it.
Right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So anyway, I know, Jordan, you got some notes on some of the things. Why don't you start with some of the tools, basically, that can make managing easier, right?
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing with self-managing is you need to set it up like a business, and you need to have the right tools to make it easy. So don't just fly by the seat of your pants, but really set it up right, and then further on down the road, you're going to have a much easier go of things. You're not going to have any unsuspected issues pop up that you can't deal with because you have systems and processes to deal with them. So, first thing, treat like a business, set it up like a business. What I always do, and what I just moved somebody into a unit in Austin, Texas. I wasn't there to do it, and I never met the people, and I want them to think that I'm the manager and not the owner. So what I do is I always tell people that, hey, I'm the manager. I don't own the place. I really stay out of that. Something else I do is I always set up a Google Voice number. Google Voice is free. You can get a number for anywhere you want. It's really easy to do. It dials off your phone. So I do Google Voice. I give them a way to get a hold of me, and I say, hey, if you have a problem, do this. People like to text and call you, so if you have a Google Voice number, it's not your number. They're texting and calling this number, and you can mute it at certain times to make it even easier. So another tool you can use is Cozy. I think, Tim, you also use Cozy. Mm-hmm. Cozy is a property management software that actually happens to be free. And just to explain how they make money, why it's free, they encourage you to require your tenants to have renter's insurance, and they sell renter's insurance. Something they also sell are background checks and tenant screening. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to do either of these things, and I think it's a good idea to have renter's insurance if you're a tenant, and it's also good for you, the landlord. So they sell renter's insurance. They don't require it. I require that all my tenants have renter's insurance. I also require that they all pay me online, so they all pay me through Cozy. I do screen everybody, so I need to use screening services like Cozy. It's not hard to do, and they make their money that way. They don't charge you anything to process your rent payments, and they don't charge you anything to use their service. So it's easy on you, it's profitable for you, it makes your life a lot easier. So you set up properties on Cozy and units on Cozy. It reminds them when their rent's due, and it reminds them when they're late, and it collects all the rent for you and deposits it in your bank account. No.
Yeah. You said something that struck me, so if I may. I hear a lot of people they take PayPal or Venmo or other systems, and those are just not, you think electronic payment is the same thing.
Yeah.
And you might even think, electronic payment my people are already on Venmo, so that's one less step. They're not the same thing. Cozy actually will remind you if they don't pay. Number one, Venmo's not going to tell you if they don't pay. and Cozy will remind you when the lease is coming due. It actually gives you, hey, your lease is coming up soon. Make sure you do something about it, right? I don't remember the exact wording, but there's that in there. At the end of the year, if you are in Minnesota, it doesn't matter where you are, but at the end of the year, you can download a report, which will then allow you to fill out your certificate of rent paid.
Oh, yeah.
It also is perfect for your taxes, and it's all Excel based. So once you download it, you can manipulate it however you need to. It automatically adds a late fee, and I tell people the system automatically adds a late fee. I don't let them know that I could delete it if I needed to or any of that nature.
That's smart.
But they know that it's going to go on there automatically on a set date.
And it's in the lease. This late fee is in their lease, so they're expecting it. And when it comes up and says, hey, your late fee is now due, it's not a surprise.
Correct, but when they think it's automatic, then they also at least potentially think, like, no, it can't be waived or whatever else. And the fact of the matter is, I just for the record, I would not recommend waiving late fees. I've been a landlord long enough to know that does not help. It's just don't charge a late fee that's so crazy high that someone will get mad at you.
Yeah.
Right? If you try to charge a $500 late fee, no one's ever going to pay it. Make it, you know what I mean?
$50 or so.
Yeah, exactly.
And you need to set expectations with them that, hey, rent is due on the 1st. If you're paying on the 8th, it's going to cost you extra money. So go ahead and do that, but this is going to be why you don't want to do that. But back to Venmo and PayPal, that's not business-like. You don't want to accept money the same way you accept money from your friend for buying dinner.
Right, because it sets the wrong expectation.
Yeah,
right?
it's not a business. It's, hey, this is my buddy. I'm not gonna pay rent on time. I'm gonna do this, and that. I talk to people all the time that say, well, I just take Venmo for rent. No, that's not acceptable. That's not a way to run a business. You don't want to run your business that way. And this is a business. If you're trying to grow it from beyond one rental, it's a business. Even if you just plan on having one rental, you need to treat it like a business so it doesn't drive you crazy.
Right. And exactly right. What was it? Sorry, there was something that you said that really caught me, and now I'm off track. I think another thing about just like this whole rent collection in general. I know a lot of landlords who try to collect through Cozy, but if the tenants can't do it, then they make other arrangements. And if you want to self-manage and you want to run it like a business, I recommend that you don't give them other options. We have no other options other than Cozy to pay us. We do not accept cash. Know it, and we do tell them up front. I mean, I don't hide that fact at all. It's all over everything we do. We tell them on first contact, in terms of first meeting, in our lease, everywhere, right? But my point is by giving them the other options, you instantly make your investment real estate and your managing harder, which means that you're going to either hate it more or not be able to manage many properties, right? When you talk about running it like a business, and that's what got me, that's one of those small things. It might seem subtle, and you might think, oh, but I want to be better customer service, so I'll just let them give me a check, or I'll just let them deposit it in my account. But now all of a sudden you have to have different standards, and you have to, now your accounting's screwed up. Instantly screwed up. Now you're going to have to go enter that into Cozy if you want your Cozy report to be accurate, or something else, as opposed to having it just be automatic. So there is a lot of benefit in being consistent in it. And frankly, if you're not consistent, you could be sued for discrimination. Federal housing laws are serious stuff.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
Anyway.
And so something else you want to do, going back to what Cozy does, is you need to screen tenants. Somebody might seem like the best tenant in the world, but when they come in, they put an application in, they pay Cozy or MySmartMove or whatever software you use to do it. They pay the screening fee. They don't pay you, so your $35 fee isn't going in your pocket. It's going to the actual screening. And you need to pay attention to these screenings and make sure you say, hey, these are our requirements. We want a 600 or more credit score, no criminal background, no evictions in the last 7 years typically. But you can do whatever you want. You just need to make that criteria known.
Not just known, it should be written and followed.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where we get into landlords mistakenly think that that laws are different in different areas when it comes to that, but they're all federally regulated, and and you can be sued by HUD. Yeah. That's where the lawsuit would come from.
Fun.
Yeah, and they're really rare. I mean, I don't want to scare anyone to death, but by all means, it's probably one of my big pet peeves is that people think they can do things that they can't. if someone applies to you, and they're the first person who applies that qualifies, and you turn them down for someone better, you're open for discrimination. So just be careful on that one. You're going to get a lot of bad advice, and I'd recommend erring on the side of caution, talking to an attorney. I mean, heck, how would you feel if you knew that you met all the qualifications, someone gave them to you, you applied, and then you didn't get the place? Whether you're a protected class or not, that's just wrong. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So you want to use some sort of screening system. My Smart Move, Cozy are the ones that I've used. They're $35 to $40. The tenant pays it. It takes all of a day to get the results back. So you can be pretty efficient with telling a tenant yes or no, we're going to accept you. And it doesn't take very long. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's really not hard on you as a landlord. So going back to why it's not hard to manage your own rental properties, these systems make it really easy. Another thing you can systemize is your advertising. So putting a for rent sign in the yard is just old school and not a horrible idea, but not the best way to get tenants. So Cozy, when you set up the listing, will broadcast it to several different sites. Facebook Marketplace has been great for me, and Facebook Marketplace is free. You can put anything for rent up there or for sale. Zillow will syndicate it with, I think, 3 other sites, and it's really easy to use, and you can just turn it on and off. I have listings from years ago that I turn on now, and they're suddenly broadcast out there, and people are...
and really cheap.
Yeah, free, yeah.
No, I meant the rent.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Rent from 3 years ago. Never mind. It's
Yeah.
a bad joke. I'm not.
Craigslist actually also works pretty well. So if you have a setup of how you're going to advertise rentals, it can be a lot easier for you. It's not hard to do. If you put it up once, you can deactivate it on any of these sites and reactivate it later on. So let's say you buy a duplex next year and you rent it this year, or you buy a duplex this year, you rent it this year, you have to re-rent it next year. You just turn that listing back on. Super easy, not a lot of work. When it comes to doing showings, how to make it easier on you as a solo landlord. So I have a leasing agent that works for me on some of my properties in Louisville. He does 1 showing at a time, and that's his full-time job. So it's, Terrence, you're great. It's not the most efficient way for me as a solo landlord to do it. So when I do showings, I do group showings. I say, hey, we're doing a showing at 12 p.m. You can come see the place then. And people come in, and that does create some urgency too when there's 3 parties there looking at the place. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I better apply now or I'm not going to get this.
Yep.
So I like to do group showings. That's the only way I do it. One at a time just isn't for me. In my experience, people are unlikely to show up.
Yeah.
One at a time, maybe 50% of them show up. So group showing, you get 6 people, 3 or 4 will show up, 1 will put in an application. It's just easier to do that way.
I agree. There's a couple other things. There's some benefits for your current tenants too, because what you want them to do is have the place look as good as possible, right? And if you can set up a group showing that's like for 1 hour, one night during the week and 1 hour on the weekend, that's what we do. We commit to keeping just 2 hours a week that we'll show the property, no more than that. And there's some reasons for that, but what that also does is that allows the tenants, it gives them the chance, like, hey, we'll clean up a little. We let them know, hey, if this place looks great, people are more likely to rent it, and then you're frankly more likely to have not have as many interruptions, right? So not as many hassle.
Be courteous to your current tenants
Yep,
too.
exactly. And we tell the new tenants that, look, you're going to get the same respect from us when you're our tenant, which I think is a selling point, right? They know that we have a system. We're not just flying by the seat of our pants, so that's part of it. And then doing the twice a week is also important in my eyes because it gives you time to build up people at that time. So we specifically always do from 6 to 7 p.m. And the reason we do that is we don't want it to be so late in the evening that people get home, they start watching TV and they don't want to come. But we don't want it so early that it's hard for them to fight traffic and get there. So I find that 6 is perfect. 6 to 7 works every time. Because if someone's like, anyway, it's just a great time. So I recommend that. But by doing it, let's say on a Wednesday night, if we don't rent it, that gives us Thursday, Friday to get more people for Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday to get people for Sunday. And then if we don't rent on the weekend, we still have Monday, Tuesday to get people for Wednesday night again, right? So by having a few days in between showings, you can get more interest, and then you can have a dozen people scheduled to go at your Wednesday showing and a dozen for your Saturday showing. And it just makes it way more efficient than if you're trying to schedule a group showing, but you're trying to schedule it every other night or every night or something like that.
Yeah, I would definitely pick days, 2 days a week, an evening and a weekend day to do it. That way you're doing this yourself. You don't want to be out there every night doing a group showing because you might get 2 or 3 people to show up at a time. But
Yeah.
this is about making it efficient and easy for you. And
Yep.
really, property management companies are expensive for a landlord, solo landlord. They're not making a lot of money though. So 10% of $1,000 rent, they might make $100 a month. It's not really so worth their time to do that. So they're going to charge you leasing fees on the other end. So you might pay first month's rent for them to lease it, and that's expensive for you as a solo landlord. But for them, they're really not making a ton of money.
True. What else you got, man?
Contractor list for you?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. So I wrote down the other day, I met with a new landlord, and I wrote down a list of all the different contractors or contacts that they needed to have. I'm going to read through them here, and if you want to message us, we'll send you this list through Messenger. If you want to post in the comments, we'll send you a message with the list. And you can reach out to us, and we can maybe connect you with some people we know. But the first and most important person, I think, any landlord, if you're going to manage yourself, is a handyman. You want someone who's a jack of all trades, who is fairly proficient in many different things, who can go out and fix most of them, and the ones they can't fix, they can assess them. So to give you an idea, some of these more specialists, they charge a fee just to get to the door, right? So for example, a plumber and an electrician, they're likely to, and appliance repair, those three in particular, are likely to cost $100 just to get there. Sometimes that might include some time. A lot of times it's just, that's their drive time, right? That's to and from the property, it's $100. That gets them in the door, but it doesn't get them to fix anything. Typically somewhere in that range. I would say electricians are more than that. I think plumbers, right around 100 to 150. Electrician,
150 or so usually.
Yeah, 150 to even more. Yep. And so you can send your handyman out for $30 to $50 depending on the handyman, and you can get a lot done. Often they can fix it, but if they can't fix it, they can at least tell you, yeah, this one's a pro is going to need to do this one. And so I'm always sending the handyman out first for every single thing, with one exception, and that is appliance repair. I've learned that if you're not in appliance repair, you probably can't do it. It's not worth it for me to send my handyman out. Most of the parts are specialized. You're generally not going to Home Depot to get the part, and often even our appliance people have to order most of the parts. So I think that if it's an appliance repair, just go right to the appliance repair people. Otherwise, send the handyman first. It'll save you a lot of money. And sometimes it's like, you think it's an electrical issue, but it's a GFCI outlet that just tripped and they didn't know that it's in one part of the kitchen is actually affecting the thing on the other side of the room, or affecting the the microwave or whatever else, right? So handyman, $30 to $50 in my opinion. How do you find a handyman other than call Jordan and I, because we could hook you up with someone. But if that doesn't work for you, or we're not available, or our person's busy, I always recommend anytime you're going to one of those, like you go to an Italian restaurant and they have a little board up, community board, or you go to a coffee shop, I just grab the cards, and then what you do is you hire them for something that's inconsequential. So, hire them to adjust a door, to fix a fence, whatever it might be. Something that if they mess it up, it's not that big of a deal to you. You can always hire someone else. Get them to try them out one time. And I would try to have at least 4 handy people on rotation, because they get busy.
Yeah.
And
especially if they're good and cheap.
Yes, exactly. Right. So the other thing about these type of people, the jack of all trades people, is they're usually better at some things than others. And so what I mean by that is my guy isn't really great with electrical. He knows that, I know that. He'll still go out and look at it, but if you can find someone who's great at electrical, you can fill that need. And he's particularly not into finish work. So again, have someone who's good at finishing. Have someone who likes different things. I know one of our guys doesn't like working on ladders. So he loves small jobs though, which a lot of people don't like small jobs. He likes small jobs, but he doesn't like working on ladders. He says he's a big guy and he doesn't feel comfortable on them, blah, blah, blah. So no ladder work for him. You need, of course, an electrician. and there's lots of good ones. I don't know that any of the cheap ones are worth it. From my experience, they're all kind of expensive, so I wouldn't hunt around for the cheapest or anything. But we use Signature Electric. There's a lot of good companies out there that will do that, and I can mention Signature because it's not like you're getting a deal from them or anyone else really. But I trust them. And by the way, I will say I do not trust Affordable Electric. I can go to super long story there, but they quoted my wife $20,000 for something that Signature did for $1,800. So that's probably all you need to hear. They scared my wife. She wanted to sell the property, and my guy came out and said, "Yeah, that was a bunch of horse crap," and basically said, "Here's what you have to do. Here's some other things you could do." That kind of thing. So they tried to scare her into a big bill. Pretty stereotypical men, taking advantage of women kind of thing.
Excel Electric, there's another one too.
That did that or is good?
Yeah, that does that. And I use John Horn, and I can't remember the name of his company, but if you look up John Horn on Google, I'm sure you could find him real quick. And message me if you want his number too. He's great. He's done jobs for me and lots of clients. He's reasonable, he's quick, he's efficient, he's very, very good at his job, and he's an honest guy. So that's why I use him and trust him. Yeah,
and plumbers, another one. Oh, by the way, handymen usually often they can come out pretty quick. They're not scheduled out as far. Mm-hmm. Plumbers and electricians will always come out quick in an emergency. That's one thing I like is they do recognize that fact. But if it's not an emergency, good luck. I mean, you're talking probably a week and a half to 2 weeks, I think, to get most of them out for non-emergency work. So just plan ahead for that. I don't know what the technical term of this person is, but you need someone who does roto-rooter type work. I've got a guy that I like a lot that I can recommend. Basically drain cleaning, right? Again, I send my handyman out, but he'll get 50% or more of them when he does it. But sometimes it's either too far down or too big of a thing, and he's like, "Yep, I tried, and I couldn't get it." And then we send out the pros. There is don't go to Roto-Rooter. They're a lot more expensive. I've got a guy again. Put a comment in the messages and I'll send you that. Just comment what you like and what you don't like, and I'll send out what you want. You need to have painters, right? But painters get busy. Usually you're going to be painting the last day of a month and the first day of a month. So make sure you have a few painters. They vary in price, but most of them are good enough to do rental work, so you don't need specialized painters. You do need a carpet cleaner. I think you can go to a lot of companies. I love Cavalry carpet cleaning. Jim Nemechek I'm a big fan of his. He's a Army vet that just does incredibly good work. So again, message me. I'll get you his contact info if you need it. But you need a carpet cleaner. And Jim, just like all of them, their busiest days of the year are basically right around January 1st and September 1st. And the first of the month's always super busy. So you have to schedule them super far out. I usually schedule them 2 months out, month and a half to 2 months out, and have backups, because I've had it where they get bogged down and jobs take them too long, and they've got 12 jobs in a 24-hour period or something. And they get backed up. You also need an experienced carpenter, and the difference to me between a handyman and a carpenter, and this is how I'm distinguishing it, is the carpenter is usually $60 to $90 an hour, maybe a little more, generally more skilled at finishing work, and to me a carpenter can do a whole deck, whereas a handyman fixes things and adjusts doors and stuff like that, and a handyman can maybe replace a door for you, but if it's all jacked up, then you need to call the carpenter and that kind of thing. So just a more skilled person at working with wood and finishing, generally going to be twice the price. Appliance repair, we talked about that, and then I think it's actually good to have a cleaner, like a cleaning company, because when you're doing turnovers by yourself, unless you have the time to clean them, you're going to need someone else to clean them, and it's just nice to have someone that you trust that you can call and get. There are plenty of services out there, but I've had really good luck with individuals on that are small mom and pop type situations.
Something else you might want is an exterior contractor, carpet person, that little stuff. Trash out people.
Yeah.
People that trash out. So I just had 3 units go vacant. We had to have 1 of them trashed out. We had to have 3 of them painted and 3 of them carpeted. So it wasn't hard. I texted my painter. He said, "Sure, I'll do it for this price," because he's done these types of units before, and he can start Friday. So he started today. I texted him Monday. the trash out people just ran out and pulled all the trash out. So I was able to turn over 3 units really relatively easily. I've never gone in them. I don't have to do anything myself, but it's just easy.
Yeah. I think they might be a little bit more on the expensive side, but the junk geniuses of the world, that's who I like and have used. But I use them to get rid of a bunch of stuff that was abandoned at a property.
Yeah.
And, I could have done it cheaper myself, but it probably wasn't worth my time to do all that.
Sure.
And they're carrying stuff I don't want to carry out of basements. I don't want to, I don't want to carry stuff out of. So, they earned every penny.
And for the exterior contractor, in Minnesota here, we get hailstorms every spring, most every spring, and we get damage from hail and wind. So you need to have somebody like this on speed dial so they can come out and fix your roof or fix your windows or fix your siding. And it's really important to have somebody cheap and affordable you can trust, because a lot of these people I don't want to say can't trust, but they get really
There's
expensive.
a lot of fly-by-nights, yeah.
There's a lot of people that are used to insurance company money, and when you call them for a job, they're gonna say, "Oh, roof, 20 grand." Where in reality, it should be 10. So
Right.
you need to have a good roofing contractor who can also usually do siding and window wraps and that kind of stuff too.
Agreed. One thing, be careful on, a lot of people don't know this, but you're protected, your insurance against claims if you live in the property. There's a state law, but it doesn't protect you on rentals. So don't go nuts on making oddball claims on rentals.
Yeah.
Where you can, be careful on that one, just for the record.
Yeah.
I did write down a couple optional things. You do not need to have these people, but you might want to have a leasing agent. Everyone, a lot of property management companies will do just the leasing side. So if you don't feel comfortable there or you got bogged down, that's where all the time is for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really are time strapped and you don't want to have to pay the 10% you're wrong, just pay that leasing fee or marketing fee or whatever you called it. Generally 1 month's rent is pretty typical on that, but I've heard of a little less than that. Then a locksmith. Don't have to have one, but it's not a bad idea. Certainly ask around. I mean, when I say have one, a lot of this is just asking your friends, hey, have you ever used a locksmith? Do you know a good one? And then recording the info on your phone, so when something comes up, you can type in your phone locksmith, and there you go, right? So you're just ready. Just having it ready is nice.
Yeah, I put it in their business name or whatever in the phone book, so I'll put their name in and their business name, even if I don't need them right now. So I can search handyman, and a list of 10 people pops up, and I can say handyman this town, and I can just call this person. So handyman
Right.
St. Paul, handyman Minneapolis.
Right.
It's easy to do that. Then you have a list when you're ready.
Agreed.
You will be ready sometime.
Agreed. Yep. The other thing I recommend is that you have a lockbox on site. Our realtors have the lockboxes. Well, you can go to any Home Depot style store and buy one. Couple tips on this. Number one, get the more expensive one. Don't get the cheapest ones where you push the button, because they're so small it's hard to fit one key in there, and they jam really easy. Master Lock, I think it is, the lock company, Master Lock, I believe, makes one that's like a lot bigger. You can fit easily 3 or 4 keys. You can fit a key ring. Those other ones, if you try to put a key ring in, you'll never get them closed. So, and they're not that much more expensive. But the point is get those ones, have it on site with a key in it, so that you don't have to go out there just to meet someone to unclog a toilet, right? That's why people hate being landlords. And I don't create any value by going out to watch an electrician do their work, right? If an electrician is good enough at their job, they can do it without me, and I'm not making it better. So I just, not to mention, if I have to go meet with the electrician, my tenants don't like that, because then my schedule has to line up with the electrician. If the electrician says, I can get over there in between jobs, I could get over there today, that works, right? But that only works if you can get them in when they need to get in. So if you have this lockbox and you contact the tenants and say, hey, I know that it's short notice, but I could get someone over and then sometime within the next 3 hours to look at it when they're done with their job, will that work? Something along those lines. They say yes, you send the lockbox code to the electrician, boom, they're in, and you've got happy tenants.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway, yeah, that's all I got.
Well, any more questions about self-managing rentals, let us know. Again, we wanted to do this to talk about how easy it really is and how you can really systemize it and add processes and procedures to make this a very small time investment. And it doesn't have to be 10 hour a week or hour a week or anything. You can answer I typically don't hear from my tenants very often, but when I do, I have something in place to deal with it. So it's easy
Yeah,
to do.
if you just know your first person to go to, that first handyman, if you will, if you know who that is, makes life so much easier, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, boom.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Any more questions, post them in the comments. We will absolutely answer them. If you need any referrals from us, let us know.
Yep, absolutely. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.